Hello students of Thakur Vidya Mandir High School and Junior College. In my last lecture, we were dealing about different modes of asexual reproduction in lower plants. So I was dealing only with the lower plants. We have also studied about vegetative propagation and the techniques of vegetative propagation. And that's way the plants how they reproduce asexually. Now today we will be dealing with sexual mode of reproduction. In this lecture, we will be dealing with sexual mode of reproduction in plants, structure of flower, and TS of anther. Sexual reproduction. It involves fusion of two compatible gametes or sex cells, like male and female gametes are fused together. Hence, it is known as sexual mode of reproduction. All organisms they reach to the maturity in their life before they can reproduce sexually. So all organisms only after their maturity can reproduce sexually. So how will you know the plant has attained its maturity? When the plants they start to flower, that shows that it has attained its maturity. In plants, the end of juvenile or vegetative phase marks the beginning of the reproductive phase and can be seen easily in the higher plants at the time of flowering. So, maturity in the plants can be seen at the time of flowering. Flower. It is specialized reproductive structure of a plant in which sexual reproduction takes place. So as we all know, the plant it consists of two parts, the vegetative parts and the reproductive part. So flower is the reproductive part of the plant. Why it is reproductive part of the plant? Because the sexual reproduction takes place in flower. Flower is sometimes also known as bloom or blossom. It is the reproductive structure and it is found in flowering plants. Now, what are the function of flowers? The function is to provide haploid gametes and to ensure that fertilization will takes place. So next, let us focus on typical structure of flower. Typical structure of flower, it consists of four different whorls. They are calyx, that is sepals, corolla, they are the petals, the colorful petals of the flower, androecium, they are the stamens, and gynoecium, they are the carpels. So the outermost whorl is called the calyx and it consists of the sepals. The next whorl is the corolla and it consists of petals. The two innermost whorls are the stamens and the carpels, and those contain the male and female reproductive parts of the flower respectively. So here androecium and gynoecium they are the male and female reproductive part of the flower. Essential whorls of flower are androecium and gynoecium. Now what is androecium? Androecium is the collective term for all stamens present in flower. Stamens represent male reproductive part of the flower. So I repeat, androecium is the male reproductive part of the flower. A flower bearing only stamen is called as staminate flower. Each stamen comprises of three parts, that is filament, a connective, and a pair of anthers. The anthers they contain pollen grains. They after falling on stigma give rise to male gametophyte which forms male gametes. So androecium is the male reproductive part of the plant. Next is gynoecium is the collective term for the carpels of the flower. It is the female part of the flower. Each carpel is made up of three parts, that is ovary, style, and stigma. So gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the plant, and it consists of three parts: ovary, style, and stigma. And this gynoecium, it results in the formation of female gametophyte, which further results into fertilization process. Sexual reproduction involves two major events: meiosis and fusion of gametes, that is fertilization. Meiosis, which rearranges the genes and reduces the number of chromosomes, and fertilization, which restores the chromosomes to a complete diploid number. So in the process of meiosis, the cells, they are reduced to half. The chromosomes number is reduced to half, and this half cells, they are known as haploid cells. The fusion of these haploid cells, it result in the formation of diploid zygote, and the production of genetically dissimilar offsprings takes place, as there are two gametes over here: the sexual mode of reproduction, the male gamete and the female gamete. So obviously it will lead to variations in the offsprings. They won't be just the clones. So here the variations, and the variations is very much essential because it is useful for survival. We know, because of the variations, they will be able to adapt themselves in the environment and evolution of the species over time. Sexual reproduction in plants is characterized by three steps. Number one, fusion of the male and female gametes, that is known as fertilization. Number two, formation of zygote. And number three, embryogenesis. Sequential events that occur in sexual reproduction, they are grouped into three distinct stages. They are pre-fertilization events, fertilization events, and post-fertilization events. The male reproductive whorl of flower is called androecium. Individual member of androecium is called stamen. Stamen, it consists of filament, connective, and anther. So next, let us study about anther. The stamen is made up of two parts, the anther and the filament. The anther produces pollen, that is the male reproductive cells. So what is the structure of anther? Now we'll see the immature stage one. An immature stage of anther, it is represented by group of parenchymatous tissue surrounded by single layered epidermis. So as you can see in the diagram, the pink color, it represents group of parenchymatous tissue, and the outer layer is epidermis. This is just the immature stage of the anther. Anther is generally dithecous. Di means two, which have two lobes, and tetrasporongiate. Tetra means four. Sporongiate, it means it contains four pollen sac. In diethecous anther, four pollen sac are present, therefore it is tetrasporongiate. You can see in the diagram the structure of diethecous. You can see the two lobes, the left and the right one, and the structure of pollen sac. As you can see the black circular structure inside it, the four, they are the pollen sac, which results in the formation of pollen grains. Each monothecous anther contains two pollen sac. TS of anther. TS, it stands for transverse section. A transverse section of the anther reveals four areas of tissue capable of producing spores. The archosporal cell divides into an inner sporogenous cell and outer primary parietal cell. So this archosporal cell, it divides into two types. First is the sporogenous and second is the parietal cell. The sporogenous is responsible for the internal division, and the parietal cell, it forms the layers, wall of the anther. So each cell of sporogenous tissue is capable of giving rise to a microspore tetrad. Parietal cell, they undergo division to form anther wall layers. So here sporogenous cell is forming the microspore. Are you getting? The sporogenous cell, it is dividing inside and it is forming sporogenous tissue, and finally it is forming microspore tetrad. Microspores, sporous cells are formed, and the parietal cell, they undergo division to form anther wall layers. The wall of mature anther, it consists of four layers: epidermis, endothecium, middle layer, tapetum. Now this chart will make you easily understand how that actually division is taking place. Archaeosporal cells, they divide into two sections, that is inner sporogenous cell and outer parietal cell. The inner sporogenous cell is further divided into sporogenous tissue, and from sporogenous tissue microspore is formed, that is the tetrad formation takes place, and the outer parietal cell, it results in the formation of anther wall layer. So when you're writing the answer regarding the TAs of anther, if you're drawing this chart, it will make you easily understand, plus you can explain your answer easily. So I suggest you should follow this chart for the same. As we all know that the wall of mature anther, it consists of four layers. So the first and the outermost layer is epidermis. So you can see in the diagram the blue color layer, it is epidermis, and it is the protective layer and it is made up of tabular, that is flattened cells. After the epidermis comes the second layer, that is endothecium, and it is sub-epidermal layer made up of radially elongated cells with fibrous thickenings. So you can see the pink color just below the blue one, below the epidermis, the layer of endothecium you can see in pink color. Middle layer, inner to endothecium, it is made up of thin walled cells, 1 to 2 layered, which may disintegrate in mature anther. You can see around the black tapetum, the blue colored surroundings, they are the middle layer in the diagram. Tapetum is the innermost nutritive layer of the anther wall. It immediately encloses the sporogenous tissue, that is the microspore mother cells. So the black color four circles which you can see, they are the innermost nutritive layer. They are called tapetum. The structure of TS of anther, you can see the outermost layer, that is the epidermis. After the epidermis comes the endothecium. After the endothecium comes the middle layer, and the last, the innermost layer is the tapetum. Inside the tapetum, the pink color parenchymatous tissue, you can see the pink color. As I have mentioned in my earlier slides, they are the sporogenous tissue. So this is the complete structure of TS of anther. So students, I hope you all must have understood the concept of sexual reproduction in higher plants, the essential parts of flower, the essential whorls of the flower, about androecium and gynoecium, and the most important, TS of anther, and the process by which the tetrad formation takes place. When you'll do the assignment, you'll be clear with it. Please do the assignment. Thank you.